like Doc, you said this medicine would like knock his butt out in like 30 seconds. Like it's been 2 minutes and this jabroni's still talking to me in Spanish and English. I understand both. What's happening? What's happening?
I feel like this is gonna be a good episode. I feel like everyone's got some stuff to talk about.
Isn't every episode a good episode?
This is pretty much the number one podcast ever.
Yeah, Joe Rogan doesn't even know. We're so far out of his league that he doesn't even know we exist.
I mean, how can you not be number one when you have jokes like this? You ready? Why do ducks?
We're already just
Why do ducks have tail feathers? To cover their butt quack. That was submitted to us by Tree Trunks Trip on Instagram. So thank you, sir, for this terrible joke that I decided to choose.
Are your kids still at the age where if you say like, we call it like a potty word, like kind of referencing like poop to the bathroom? So like when you say potty words, do they still like kind of just repeat it like a broken record, or they kind of grow out of that phase? Never had a phase? Is that a boy thing? Because my kids, it's like, what's he doing? He's well, so like we speak Spanish in the home, so it's like caca, it's like is he taking a poop, caca, whatever, and all of a sudden it's like caca, and everyone just starts hollering. It's like on repeat, and then everyone's parrots it for like hours.
I don't know that we ever had that stage because they've always just been like, I need to go to the bathroom, I need to go potty, I need to go number 2, I need to do this, I need to do that, and it's Brandy hates the word poop, so I say it all the time because she like will lose her mind. She's like, that's disgusting, don't say that. It's really hilarious.
I can think of a lot of other words that would bother me more than the P-O-O-P.
Loses it.
Oh, that's like the first word they learned how to spell.
Yeah,
I was like, I didn't teach them that. But they're like poo, and like he just like sounded it out. I was like, bro, what are you? Okay.
But bad words. From time to time, some bad words will slip out of our mouth, and the kids are usually like, mommy or daddy, like they know it's bad.
Like I get the bad words, which is surprising because in like an office setting, I don't have a filter, and when I'm at home, I get angry. But I tend to not curse around the kids. As soon as they're not around me, I do, for better or worse. But right now it's expression.
It's expression.
It's the potty words, like poop and butt and all of those kinds of words. I think
they'll grow out of that.
I imagine, but I just didn't know if it was more of like heavily lean because I got 4,
I don't know,
the 4 boys or what. But like the older ones will kind of whisper, and it's like, well, I looked at your butt, and it's like we're at the table like eating, and then all of a sudden the 3-year-old's like, butt. I'm like,
you know what though? Now that you say that, I remember when the kids were a little younger, one of their friends used to say booty butt all the time. They're like, my booty butt. And it was like this thing. And then the girls would repeat it. And I'm like, all right, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. Like it was funny the first couple times, but then I'm like, okay.
Remember like, what was it last podcast? I shared that gem of a song. Oh, we got another one.
Oh, please.
So we've got the little, we've got the Google Mini, because like we don't want them to have like a screen, but I set it up to be like kids music, like linked to YouTube or whatever. So like I woke up yesterday morning, two days ago, and like they're blasting Sweet Home Alabama, and one kid's playing on the piano, jamming one arm, which I'll explain later, and then the other one's got like a globe that he's hitting it with like, and we have like a mini drum set, but nope, it's like the back of a paintbrush, and he's got this little like tablet thing that's kind of like you can like when you draw like over it, kind of changes. It's like a black chalkboard, but it's like digital, like one of those $10 ones or whatever. He's using that as like a symbol, and he's like whacking it and he's banging it. So it's like I come downstairs to like a jam session to like Sweet Home Alabama. I'm like, I don't even understand what's that. It's 7:00 in the morning. We need to slow down.
They need to come to my house for some drum lessons.
They do, but apparently, like because of the potty talk, they're constantly like, "Hey Google, can we play?" poop, or can we? Well, so apparently there's a song called Poop Knife. Oh yeah. You just start asking Google to play songs around POP, and there's some interesting one. There's Poop Finger.
All right.
Oh, there's a country like dude singing. Like I just question like I don't know how old. It sounds like he's like an older gentleman, and you just gotta wonder like, is he just sitting around one morning drinking coffee, being like, you know what, I'm real proud of in my life. That song I recorded called Poop Finger. Well, and it came up because we're trying to teach the kids to wipe themselves. Like, it's potty phase and like they're gonna go into kindergarten next year. So it's a whole process of like things I didn't think of when I first had kids. I'm like, oh yeah, like someone actually has to teach you how to like
wipe your
pee
butt
on the potty, wipe your hiney, like all of these things. So of course you wipe and you're like, well, you gotta wash your hands. Like we're not the most accurate. And so but that's apparently I walked down the stairs, I was like, what? And I had to listen to it. I'm like, you listen to it some more, you're like, wait, am I really hearing him talk? Yes. And so now I'm like, great, like thank you, YouTube kid music, because like it's a kid song, but I'm like, I can't just like filter like mainly because like I just want to listen to it on repeat. Like I try to like some of those things that are kind of like,
how do you go into the settings and like remove that from the like?
I don't know. I'm gonna go to like a block list or something. Yeah. But it's one of those situations where like I'm sure you found like the more you make a big deal about something, like the more they're gonna. So it's one of those like balancing of like at least it's not some F-bomb song of something else where it's like okay, like I'm gonna try to not make a big deal about this, but then like so they'll play it like once or whatever, and we move on. I'm like okay, cool, and then they'll then they're at the table and they're like talking about it, and you're just like, all right, I hope this is a phase, but potty words.
Well, probably not. So the other day after dinner, we're cleaning up, and Brandy bends over. There's a few pieces of paper on the floor that looked like they fell out of a backpack or something. So we're cleaning up dinner plates and stuff, and she's like, "Oh, what's on the floor?" So she bends over, picks it up, and it's like a few little pieces of paper folded up. So she unfolds it, and it's a couple
like real
of
tiny
4-letter words written down by a certain little 7-year-old.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So
you're like, I'm so glad you know how to spell. Gold star.
Yeah. And of course, immediately, like I had it in my hand, so they didn't see it, and they had run off to the rooms already. So I called them back. I'm like, girls, you need to come back to the kitchen for a second. So they come back in, and I'm like, I don't ever want to find these words written down ever again or coming out of your mouth. And it was like Kendall's to me, it was so-and-so's fault. She put them there. I'm like, you don't even know what they're in my, you know what I mean? And I'm like, guilty. So, I'm like, all right, well, what she said is totally possible because I know that person. And I'm like, okay, I could see that kid doing this. So then I'm like, hey, Brandy, give me her notebook. So I pull it out and I start comparing handwriting. I'm like, oh, this is totally Kendall.
Went forensic on it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And
that's one thing you don't realize as a parent. Like you like, there's a lot of detectiving. Is that a word?
It is now. It's added to the Alexisms.
Detecting. Like when you go full blown. Like, all right, how did that marker that was in that room get under the sink?
Yeah,
and then written. You know what I mean? You got to backtrack it and everything.
Oh, it's constantly like. Mm-hmm. How did this get here? Who did this? Why is there this here? What's going, and then it's always like pointing fingers at someone else.
They're like, I can't go to sleep until I find this stuffed animal or something. You're like, where'd you last see it? Mm-hmm. And like, of course it's not there. And then like 30 minutes later, because I'm like, you're going to bed without it. Like, I'll keep looking for it, but like, you got to figure this out. Like, you either keep track of your stuff or you don't get your stuff. It's a very simple process. Right. So, you get them to go to bed, and like, I'm like, well, I got to find this. Like, where is this?
Or tomorrow's going to suck.
Yeah, exactly. And then you're like, okay, you put it in a trash bag, and the trash bag went inside another bag, and then somehow you stuffed it like in the attic. And I'm like, I don't even know how you got it there. And then I started to realize, like, how did I even get here to look there? It's like, you just like the rabbit hole. It's like, how'd you squirrel that away? Like that. Like,
it's crazy.
It is.
Well, I had to try to figure out how to like make a teaching moment of it too. And like, I think I've told this to the girls before, but I had to like reiterate. I'm like, and she swore up and down she didn't do it, even though I did. And I knew she was lying about it. And I assume that there was at least influence from this other kid.
Yeah.
whether or not they did it or not, but I have to imagine there was some influence. Anyways, doesn't matter. The point being, I was like, listen, even if you knew that was there and it was something bad that you knew was bad, I'd rather you came and told me about it. Like, you'll never, ever, ever get in trouble if you come and tell me about something bad that happened. If someone tells you to do something bad, if you find something bad, whatever the case is, if you come and tell me about it, you will never get in trouble for it. But if I find out about it and you're trying to hide it, then we got a problem. Yeah. You know? And I think that was the right message to kind of put across just into their heads in general, and like make sure they understand, because I want them to know that they can come tell me anything, especially being girls. It's like, but yeah, that was kind of, and it's hard not, it's like, it's kind of funny because you're like, all right, this is funny. But then you're like, wait, this is not right. Like, we can't have this. This is, so that was speaking of bad words and stuff, that was the thing.
Well, I mean, you really do got to take every moment as a teachable lesson.
Yeah, as much as possible.
Because like the thing I was gonna say is, I read, and I'm sure a lot of you seen this. It's like, you know, the quote going around, and I don't know who said it, it's like, if you send your kids off to be taught by Caesar, can't be surprised they come home Romans. The point just being more of, I get why they said that as it relates to the current political climate, but I took it more of like, if you're not teaching your kids and if you're not parenting them, then who is parenting them? Well,
yeah. Or who are they learning anything from? Who
are they learning from? So like, if you can't get them to talk to you so you can have those moments or try to address those moments, like you can't be like that surprised when they do something wrong or bad or whatever else. You're like, well, you weren't showing them the right way to do it or how to address the problem. I mean, we got that wonderful voicemail yesterday where someone just goes off the handle on us over some patches on our site. And the crux of it just being which was shocking, is like someone literally called us and told us to F off, which you're entitled to your opinion.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't, like, you're entitled to that opinion. Like I sleep just fine at night, but it's more just like, and like, what brought you to this point in life to be like an adult, to where your answer for trying to solve a problem was something that you might not like? And by the way, like, it was the fact that we had like a thin blue line patch on our site, was to call someone and then just literally be like, I don't know anything about you, but F you and F you and F you. And it's like, what it came back from me was more of like, there just needs to be more parenting in the world, apparently, because like, this is the way you solve problems. I don't like you, so F you. Okay.
Yeah, it's like, a lack of respect.
It's just a lack of respect, which it's just shocking how much more you witness that, and how much more I'm just like, all right, I better equip my kids to be able to handle situations like that, one, but then understand that like that isn't acceptable.
Right.
Like, that's just not how you interact with people. And if people want to interact with you that way, like, so be it. Pray for them, because they need a little more Jesus. You know what I mean?
Jesus.
So
amen.
They it's just shocking how much it's like, you know, like you can't be a proud female, you can't be a proud male anymore, because one way or the other is bad. And it's like, no, there's nothing wrong with being masculine. There's nothing wrong with being feminine. It's how you handle the situation with the either feminine or masculinity that is how you're treating people, that I think is which can go awry. But it's like, you're trying to make everyone equal, and it's like, guess what? We're not. I can't grow a human. My body doesn't do that. You have something I can't do. Guess what? Therefore, we're not equal. That's just math and science. So it's like we're trying to blend it here and do like, you know, blended averages like we're at school here. And it's like, no, like, but it's how you respect people.
Yeah.
For being different.
It's all about respect and
that makes the difference on how you do it. So anyways, as it relates to parenting, because it's like when I see my kids start to like talk and be a little I don't know where they heard this from, and it wasn't actually in relationship to it, like a person, but they're like, oh, like we were like driving down the highway, so like you couldn't even see anyone. And it was like, oh, look, the fat lady, and I'm like, hold up, like where'd you even hear that from? Because like that doesn't even that doesn't come out of anyone's mouth. Maybe you have an idea, but it was just more of like, okay, like there's adjectives to describe things. However, there's certain things that you just like, you need to be mindful on how you use your words because it'll have an impact on someone hearing it. And so, you try to like, I mean, they're 5 and 3. And it was actually the 3-year-old. So I'm,
it's like,
they probably heard it on the damn YouTube, music or something. But you just trying to find those.
Yeah,
those
it's
lessons.
really funny. Those are the types of things that are always the most embarrassing because kids don't understand. Like sometimes it's out of context, or sometimes they don't they're just describing the person they see, and it's like in a grocery store, and it's like the old bald man behind you, you know what I mean, or whatever, and it's like, or like the grandpa back there, or whatever, and it's like that they're just describing the person they see, not realizing that it's like sort of offensive or might be. But then generally speaking, most people understand that like that's a 3-year-old. They don't know what they don't mean anything by it.
It's like tall person.
Like, bald person, fat person, old person, like that's just how they describe things they see, not realizing that it's like maybe not the nicest thing to say in front of or at someone.
Which again, you then try to be like, hey, look.
And they like to point too. You know what I mean? And you're like, stop, get this, put your hand down. It's like the embarrassing grocery store moment. So we could probably do a whole series of those. It'd be amazing. Because it'd be funny.
And sometimes I think the wife does appreciate the fact, at least where we live, that they speak Spanish. So it's like, okay, everyone around here can't hear. And then you see like a Hispanic lady walk by and just starts laughing and keeps going. You're like, yeah, well, that's cool. But
it was funny when we were out the other day doing that photo shoot, and Gabe started speaking to them in Spanish, and I remember Max or Nico or somebody like looked at him and was like, cocked their head like a dog. And they've met Gabe before, right, at the house when he was helping you with the flooding situation, which we need an update on the flood situation, where we're at with that. But had he met them before? Have they met him?
I think,
or was that the first time?
They had just, no, I think that they
they were over at Matt and Nancy's or something like that.
Yeah, they were
so Gabe started speaking Spanish, and they're like,
for the longest time, they thought that like it was like a special like mommy language or something. You know what I mean? They just didn't have enough. They just didn't have enough exposure.
Right.
They're starting to grasp the concept now that like there's other people that speak different languages and everything else. But yeah, it's kind of cool how they just switch, and because I'll say something to them and kind of catch them off guard, and all of a sudden they'll start answering back in Spanish. You're like,
Dad knows this too. A little bit, enough
to be dangerous.
All right, the flood saga. If anyone is like the first time listening, Alex had this ridiculous flooding situation in his house, bathroom, like drainage pipe backup, flooded the main part of his house. Huge situation. Anyways, what's the update?
I finally got so we got the drywall down. We, I finally was able to put the baseboard back up, get it all sanded, and we're just waiting for painting. And I just haven't.
You're still waiting to paint?
I just haven't had time to go. I just haven't had time. Like at least it's patched up, and again, the
living rooms back together, bathrooms back together, so the house is functioning.
Like it's you walk down like a hallway, and then you see like like the little nail marks from the pinhole nail, nailer, and
in the
then it's kind of this like nice kind of like tie-dye looking like the mud kind of then going up and blending in, but thankfully like it's kind of below eye level, so it's not as annoying. But
and you're just like, whatever.
I was gonna start to get caught up, and then we had another incident this past weekend. So it's like every time I try to get caught up, and I'll like go to, just stop and go to the paint store to get the right matched color paint and trim paint and the whole 9 yards, something else will come up.
What was this other thing, Alex? Enlighten us, please.
So
this is crazy.
Saturday night we had brought all the kids up. We threw them in our big like kind of walk-in shower and just hosed all of them down, and Nico gets dressed and everything else and runs downstairs, and so we get the other kids dressed and we're about to go downstairs to do dinner, and we just decided like let's just clean them before, because they didn't they were tired, worn out, like let's just
quick shower, feed them, and get them to bed.
Exactly. And then like we're literally coming down our stairs, and I just hear this blood curdling like scream, and Nico had jumped from a cabinet onto one of the couches we have, and it's like a really nice leather couch, and like the side of it's kind of like it's soft to touch, but like if you stick out your arm, it's like hitting a cinder block, and just snapped his right arm, snapped it, looked like a Gumby arm. And so we're coming down the stairs, and
it's like
I hear
crooked,
this
like a question mark. It's just like a huge bend in the middle of his
it is
forearm.
And so we're walking down the stairs, and he just comes running up, and he's holding his arm, and it's just
little floppy.
And I just see it, and it's just one of those moments where like you think you have all this, like when this happens,
this is how I'm
going to handle it. And you're just like, you just start staring at it, and you're like, wait, he's crying. That arm doesn't look right. He's like, he just broke his arm, and it's like trying to process. And again, I've got like, the trail of other kids, like Emily's holding the baby. There's two other kids coming down the stairs, and he's hysterical. So I pick him up, and like I set him down, and Emily's trying to process what happened too. And I'm like I got to put him in the car and go to the hospital. Like there's just something, thankfully, that was like, this isn't like it's something is hurt, like he jammed his wrist, you know what I mean? Like there's more to this, and no bone came out of the skin, thankfully, like in that regards, just because I probably would have like really lost it on like blood just spewing everywhere, thinking that my kid's just gonna straight up die in my arms. But very helpless feeling. So thankfully, like the pediatrician, like we were able to call him real quick. He answered. We took a photo of it, and he was like, the way he described it to us, he's like, it's not an emergency, there's urgency, which I think is a good way to kind of know, like, okay, like don't kill yourself on the way to the hospital, like just get to the hospital.
Yeah.
And where we live, there's Savannah's about 40-45 minutes away, so he was like, go to the like pediatric hospital in Savannah, like bypass. Just don't go to the local hospital, and thankfully too, like they have their own like the emergency room for kids, so you're not having to, you're not like fighting for space in a way, essentially for adults. It's just, let's go to the kids room. They know how to deal with kids, and it's a little less intimidating, right?
Probably.
So throw them in the car, and of course, like it never dawned on me, like, okay, when someone breaks a body part, they're bleeding profusely, like I can't, like both. In our case, like thankfully there are the two parents around. Like, okay, like I have to go by myself because a parent has to stay with these other kids until we can figure out someone to come over and deal with them. So I need to put this kid in a car seat so I can drive him. But I was just thinking, like, what if he was like bleeding out his face? Like I guess you just call the ambulance, because I'm like, well, I can't take you anywhere because I need to put like if it was bleeding, like you put like, so like all those like thoughts are going through your head of like, okay, I can get him in his car seat. He's still hysterical at this point. I don't see any blood. It doesn't look like it's just ridiculously swelling. So by the time I could maybe wrap it or put some ice on or something, like I might as well just kind of be getting in the car. So, you're having these like 10,000 ideas. And so then he was fighting me because he's like, I don't want to go. I want to stay home, because he's scared. Mm. And so like, I just see him pressing up against the like things. And I'm like, that's where I was just like, son, like trying to like almost like, shock him a little bit to be able to like get his arm in, because like as he kept pushing against it, I could see his arm bending, and it just was like, you're hurt, like you're in flight mode, which I get, but like you're freaking me out with like pushing again. Like I don't want you to do any more damage, right? Mm-hmm. So I get him in the car, and like thankfully, because we don't watch a lot of TV, so like I was like, I don't really know how to get to this hospital. I will call someone on the way, but I put on a video. And that like kind of sort of started to like suck them in just a little bit,
distract them,
just so I could like get things going, get them back up. And I was like just call me. I don't know where we're going at this point. I was like, just call me and direct me. Like I know I need to go this direction, right? Both hospitals.
You got some time to figure it out.
I'll at least have like 20-30 minutes before I need to pick the local hospital or the one in Savannah. So then it's that matter of like, so you're driving, and it's like, all right, I need to not get in an accident. I'm a little nervous because I'm like, I don't know how bad is he hurt. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to pass out back there. Like, what do I do if he does pass out back there? Like, do I pull the car over? And then like, now I'm calling an ambulance to meet me somewhere else and not at my house? You know, did I make the right decision? You know, all these things. And so it's like every stoplight you hit, you're looking back, and it's like, all right, is his arm like swelling up? Does it look like there's blood? You know, like internal bleeding? You know, just whatever. And you know, the whole time now that he's finally calm, looking at a video, but it's also like, you know, he's just like whimpering and like, it hurts. How much longer? How much longer? And like, we've got the nickname for him called MapQuest, because he's always like, all right, Dad, I need to go to Alaska today. How long is it going to take me to get there? And I'm like, oh, you flying or driving, bro? Like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm flying. I'm like, I don't know, 12 hours. He's like, okay. So he's like, how much longer? I'm like 30 minutes. That's too long. I'm like, I know. I don't know what to tell you. So then I finally figured out what hospital we were going to. We made that decision. So like, we got to a stoplight. I grabbed the phone. I plugged it into the GPS. And like, that saved me in the regards of like, I could hear where I needed to go.
Right.
But he was distracted because thankfully he likes directions. So he started zoning in on that, which I think just really helped him overcome the shock that his body was going through with,
Give him something to focus on,
breaking the arm. And of course, the whole time now I'm like, great, I need to talk him through the situation just so he can understand what to expect when we get to the hospital. Like, he's never been to a hospital short of being born, you know? So it was like, or going to visit one of his other brothers being born, like never going there like as the patient, right? So it's like, okay, like now you're like, all right, let me think through this one. Like, when we get to the hospital, we're going to go to a counter. We're going to need to get checked in. They're going to bring us back. There's going to be nurses and doctors. There's probably going to be a lot of equipment with bells and whistles and dings. Like, there's nothing to be scared of. They're here to take care of you. And then it was like, I didn't want to talk about the fact that he might have to get shots yet or not. You know what I mean?
Like
We'll wait till we get there on that front. And so then it was just like, how do I just constantly kind of talk him through it? So when we get there, he's a little more prepared to handle everything
chaos
that's going on. Because I didn't know if it's like we get there and then it's like, well, you're gonna wait 30 minutes until the doctor or like a nurse comes and pulls you back. Like, we might be waiting out there when you're in pain. Like, I don't.
Yeah, you're gonna be waiting around. They're gonna rush him in somewhere.
Exactly. Are they gonna look at it and be like, oh my, like, how are you still breathing? Yeah, I don't know. So thankfully, so we got there, and of course, like we decided to, you know, break our arm on a day where there's like severe thunderstorms. Like, not like it's drizzling.
Oh, that's
it's
right.
It's like everything that was in our area was red. It wasn't like, oh, a little bit of rain. It was like, it was the worst storms we've had in a while. So I'm like, great. I'm driving on this like road that desperately needs to be improved. Like, you know, like thankfully it's still light out, because on the drive home it was like even worse. I mean, it's like, I don't know, you just literally like, what is that song? Jesus Take the Wheel. It's kind of one of those feelings. You're like, I don't know, a car's coming. When the light washes out the road, I hope I'm still on it. It was like that kind of situation. So I'm like, cool. Like, now I'm going to get in a car accident with a kid in the car.
With a broken arm.
So, so we got there, and thankfully, like, I guess with, you know, with COVID, like, people just, it's kind of nice in that regards of like, people aren't just like hanging out at the hospital anymore. So it seemed like it was very attentive. So we walked in like, hey, what's going on? And like, during that whole time, I still was like, this is a teaching moment, for better or worse. I was like, you know, we're here, we're checking in. What's the name? Kind of explaining it. And I was like, Nico, you can say hello. I'm like, this doesn't mean, like, just because you got a broken arm doesn't mean you get to be an ass. Like, let's be polite to people.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that was the right decision or not, but I'm like, we gonna do it. So like, every time like a new nurse would come in, I'd be like, what do you say? Like, hello. I'm like, that's right. You can have manners, son. So you know, you try to just make it like, if you're in pain, like, you got to be able to talk to people, you got to explain, you got to use your words. And I think like in my mind, I was like, that's what I want you to. I don't want, your dad's not always going to be here to talk for you. So
right.
You gotta, I know you're 5, so I will talk for you, but like, we gotta start training you to be able to explain to adults if something's wrong, you know, kind of like you said, like, well, tell me if something's wrong. Like, I need you to be able to like tell a doctor or a nurse or a police officer, like, you got to be able to use your words.
Right.
So thankfully, again, for better or worse, there was like no one there. So we got checked in. They took us to the back, and he was super calm, thankfully. I was trying to put on a facade of being super calm, but I'm not.
You're not usually the most calm
person. So like internally, I'm just like, well, yeah. There's such a protectionism.
Here we
go with words again. Like I just like I'll let them play on the playground, and if they fall and break their arm, that's what's going to happen. But like, there's just a part of me like once that does happen, it's like my only role was to make sure that you like don't get so hurt. So there's just that part of me that's struggling with like, oh, I needed you to be able to jump off furniture because you're a kid and that's what you do. But then it's like, how could I have not like protected you more? Like it's just an internal struggle that I deal with. Yeah. But I'm sure a lot of other people do too.
I mean, that's just part of being a kid is like just having to learn it. Like he's probably been told a number of times not to do that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And there's gonna be other times where it's like he's just riding his bike and he hits a stick and he's gonna fall and he's gonna break his arm or whatever. Well, and those are the kinds of things that just like happen as a kid. Like you're lucky you didn't get injured playing soccer as much as you did.
Oh yeah.
Like,
I mean, yeah,
you're super lucky.
Well, there's certainly those.
I've broken both my legs.
I made sure the entire time of kind of explaining like it was an axe. Like we don't jump off furniture, buddy. But like the fact that you got hurt, like no one's upset at you.
Right.
Like kind of situation. Like especially like when he got home, like the next morning, it's like, hey, like buddy, like no one's upset at you. Like
does he know that he was doing something he shouldn't have been doing?
Yes. So it's like, look, you don't need to do that. And that in the end result from not listening essentially is we got hurt, but like we're not upset with you. Like we want you to get better,
right.
Navigating that. But
I probably would have said something like, I would have made sure they're okay on all those things, and eventually it's like, and this is why I tell you not to do the things I tell you not to do.
I told you so.
This is why I say those things. You know what I mean? Did the other kids like now are they like scared of jumping off of things?
No, they're like doing stuff, and I'm like, don't do that. I'm biting my tongue because I'm like, I know you need to do this, but I'm don't do this.
Yeah.
But which I'll get to the twin who's really freaked out for his brother. There's just a unique bond there, but we so he was super calm and polite and telling people hello, and I was really proud of him on that regards. And we got in, and the nurse walks in. I was like, so why are y'all here? Because I was like, I'm holding him. And I just kind of turned so she could look at the arm, and she was like, and okay, he's very calm. I'm like, I haven't given him any drugs, I promise. Like, I don't know what's happening right now. And we get him checked in, and they do the x-rays, and they're like, yep, it's broken. I'm like, yeah,
no kidding.
Didn't need the x-ray for that one, but
needed the x-ray to see how bad it was.
And so then they were like, it's bent like kids that obviously are incredible at how they heal, and their body can kind of like course correct the bone back the way it needs to be for the most part, but it was bent so far that they were like, we need to give it a boost here, so like there isn't any issues. And we got lucky that it was nothing on the growth blade or anything else. It was where it got snapped, pretty much right here in the middle of their
Trev, we should put the x-ray photo up in here for
and
people
so
on YouTube. If you're listening, you can see it on YouTube.
And so then they were explaining like the process to me, and meanwhile, thankfully my mother-in-law was able to come over to the house. The wife was able to get in a car and start driving over here to be with us. So she wasn't there, so they're explaining to me like what needs to happen, and then it's that like mindset of like, oh, like it was one of those moments where it's like you have kids and you feel like an adult, and then you pay taxes and you feel like an adult. And you're like, all right, I pay all my bills, I feel like an adult, yay, mortgage payments, But it was like one of those moments where you're like, whoa, like I actually have to make like decisions on behalf of another life. It was one of those first like we you go in and it's like, yes, like my kids are going to get we vaccinate, like, so my kids are going to get the vaccinations, like the measles or mumps and whatever, So it's like I don't like those decisions to me like never really stuck out. It's like I'm making decisions on behalf of my kid, but yeah, like give them the shot. But it was one of those, it was like, oh, like I'm like making a real boy decision like right now. And they're like, yeah, because like we're gonna have to constantly sedate him, which I didn't know you could do, which I'll explain. and then we're gonna reset it and everything else. I was like, oh, yes, like,
Yeah.
well, you know, it's kind of
We
like
just need you to sign right here that
it
we're
was.
not.
It was one of those situations where you're like, well, like, I have no clue what this drug will do, but yeah, it sounds like it. Like I can look at it. It probably needs to be fixed, and this kid doesn't need to feel that.
Yeah.
So they give it's like ketamine. Ketamine.
It sounds right.
Something to that effect. Where basically, it's crazy. You're kind of like awake, but you basically go just it does like temporary amnesia, and it's a pain blocker. So we go to put the IV in, and of course, like he's sitting on me on it, so I'm kind of holding him down, and he's been super calm the entire time. And then they go to stick the IV in his arm, and you know, kids just screaming, and I'm holding them down, but trying not to like, you know, like choke them out. And I dislike IVs because I had a lot of surgeries as a kid, and like they butchered me. Like I was a pincushion, so I just hate IVs. I get like allergy shots and stuff now, and I'm like, you give me an IV, it's like, all right, what is the numbing stuff? Like I just have this like, I just don't do well with them. Mm-hmm. So they stick them, and they're like wiggling it, jiggling it, wiggling it, jiggling it, tapping it, wiggling it, jiggling it, tapping it, wiggling, wiggling. Yeah, this ain't gonna work. Pull it out. Okay.
Try again.
Can we get the better one? And I mean, you know, kids' veins are hard, and I get it, and I couldn't do it. So then they're like, let's move up the arm. Stick it in, wiggling, sticking it, holding him down, screaming, and the poor kid's like that's hurting him more than his arm, you know. I think we got it. And they start trying to like flush it and do stuff. Oh yeah, this one's gonna work. Can we get like 4 other opinions here? Yeah, and like 5 more nurses walk in, like, that should be fine. She's like, oh, okay. All right, now we're gonna give him this conscious sedation stuff. He's gonna go. His eyes are gonna like start darting around, and then he'll go glossy eyed, and then you guys can walk out. We'll do the set, and it's maybe 10-15 minutes, and you'll come back in, and it'll start to wear off, and we'll be back in.
I'm starting to get stressed out now hearing about it.
So like we're about to leave the room, so it's like, all right, buddy, like, all right, get some medicine, and he's just like looking at me. He's like, Dad. Like, Doc, you said this medicine would like knock his butt out in like 30 seconds. Like, it's been 2 minutes, and this jabroni's still talking to me in Spanish and English. I understand both. What's happening?
No bueno.
They're looking at it. Yeah, we're gonna have to do another IV. I'm like, all right, I'm about to choke someone out at this point, because I'm like, I understand it's a stressful situation for everyone, and I can only imagine
the level of difficulty.
For it. But just as a parent, when you know, you're like, all right, like I know we need to do this, but like you just constantly just like, this kid is in pain. Like, the medicine you gave him was supposed to make him zonk out for a little bit and not have pain. Let's inflict more pain, you know. Like, I get it's part of the process. But so then like this other nurse like comes in, and now like I've already started leaving, like I was almost leaving the room, and they're like, it's not working. So now like he's laying on a table, he's like fully awake,
man,
looking at me like, where y'all going? You know, and I'm like, oh, it's okay, buddy. I'm about to choke someone out. It's okay. You know, so this other nurse walks in. I'm like thankful. Like, I'm like, y'all can't, like, you're gonna start putting this in his foot. Like, you got, like, you don't have another arm to mess with, right? And like the other lady comes in and like, all right, give me this, ding, 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 ding. 4 seconds later, it's done. Give me this, wash it, put the things in. His eyes start rolling, and I'm like,
she's a pro.
Wait, where was she? About, I don't know, 20 minutes ago. This would have been wonderful. Oh man. And so finally you see his eyes roll back in the head, and I'm just like, all right, I get to leave. So now I'm like leaving, stressed out and like annoyed, even though like I know.
Yeah.
But it's just like,
as a parent, it's very difficult to go
but
through.
like as I walked into the little like, you know, like constellation or conference, it was like a little like conference room or something. You know, it's just like I had one of those moments because you know, we've got a friend who's like kid just had heart surgery and stuff. And like, you talk about all the poking and prodding and like, I'm going to put your kid under, and like under, and then we'll see you in like 6 hours and hope your kid's still alive.
Yeah.
It's like, I had this like moment as I walked through and I was just like, I don't like, I'm a big believer that God gives you only what you can handle. And I'm like, I understand why like you're putting me about this far of the stress level, because like anything further, like she's like, the wife's like, I don't think you could handle much more. I'm like, I can't, like, for whatever reason, like I can't stand seeing my kids in like pain.
Well, not only that, but I know that you're like, and like you're like a control freak in that regard. And this was like very out of your control.
Oh, yeah.
Like there is nothing you were doing with this in your control necessarily, aside from like getting him from point A to point B safely.
Yeah.
But like otherwise out of your control. So the thoughts through my head were like, how were you handling? What was your demeanor? Initially, were you stressed out and panic, or were you like super calm and like chill? What was your sort of initial?
I knew I needed to come across as calm, cool, and collected. Again, short of like getting him into the car seat, where it was just like you're having like you're it's almost like you're having a tantrum mixed with like shock. How do I get you in here so like we can back up where you're not trying to unbuckle it down the road? You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. That was the only time where it was just like all of a sudden I shot up real quick and then like quickly came down on like kind of like a
high stress,
kind of moment, like come across, so like kind of showing any real like emotion on that front. But but anyway, so we like 10 minutes later they come in, but during those 10 minutes it was just one of those moments where it was just like all those like kids in NICUs and stuff, and I'm just like,
I can't
it's one of those situations like I've got a lot, like I always felt empathetic to a lot of the stories that we hear constantly of parents. It's like 6 weeks into this, like and it's just like wait, you're at the hospital for 6 weeks. Like I was in the hospital, like the wife was in the hospital was like 24 hours with a C-section. Like we were in and out, and so you just start to like realize like, okay, like it's like you put all your problems on the table and you start to realize like, I'll take mine back. We're good. We're good.
Yeah.
I will take
keep my problems.
I will keep my flooded flollers and my broken arm, because compared to what a lot of other people deal with, it's not that bad. But so you go back in, he starts waking up, and he's just kind of like got this like loopy smile on it and everything else. Thankfully, the doctor said that they were able to put it back. They put a splint on it, and 2 days ago, Tuesday, he got like his full blown cast on it. And the doctor said everything was looking good too. So he's back to running and jumping and doing everything that they would.
The house
back. Oh yeah, we had him doing chores the next day. They like, kids love the vacuum. Well, my kids love the vacuum, and so like he was just back to being normal. Thankfully, a little bit of pain in the middle of the night, but
what's awesome is being that young and there's no like where he broke it, like he's gonna bounce back from it like it never happened in 6 weeks.
They're saying like 4 to 6 weeks, and we'll be kind of back to normal, thankfully. But no, everyone, and obviously everyone at the hospital was great. It was stressful on the IVs, but that's just because I've got a problem with IVs. Like that's
it was a bigger
problem.
issue for you than it probably was for him.
Yeah.
Potentially.
I mean, it probably hurt. I mean, I don't like getting stuck, but
doesn't
feel good.
Well, every time I get like blood taken or an IV for something, and they're like, now I'm like, oh God, I'm terrified of needles. And like most people laugh at me. I'm like covered in tattoos, right? And they're like, ha, ha, ha. And then like the last person didn't get it immediately. And then they were like, oh, that was a joke.
As I stick the needle through like, the tattoo.
They're like, oh God, really? And I'm like, no. But some people, it's funny because I have talked to people who have like heavily tattooed it's like, it's not the same. It's not penetrating your skin completely. It's just like in the surface of your skin, more or less. It's a few layers deep, but it's not like you're sticking a needle through your body. It's like you're sticking a needle into it, but not through it. So it's really, some people do have an issue with it, even though they're tattooed. They like hate needles and stuff. And I always make the joke. Some people get it and
some people don't.
Some people don't. It's pretty funny. But I tend to stay super calm. Like any super high stress situation like that, I go so calm that it's almost like,
you have a pulse?
Unnatural. And I'm like, in my head, I see like one of my kids, especially with gymnastics and all that nonsense they do, that I'm like, all right, eventually someone's going to break something. This is just something I'm going to have to deal with eventually. But I could see myself being calm, and ridiculously calm, which I know will keep them calm. And they've seen me with broken leg and in the hospital and surgery. So they're going to be like, oh, I get to go to the hospital like daddy did, And it's thankfully I've been exposed to some of that stuff where I don't think they would be terribly scared. I would be like, whoa, that was a good one. All right, we're going to go to the hospital. Let's go deal with this thing. You know what I mean? Yeah. And they're going to be like, okay. And I can keep my kids calm, thankfully, under really stressful situations that I've done before. And it's like,
no, I actually, I know that you're that way. And I like when things are happening, I was like, okay, like I know I was like, I gotta stay calm. And so like during the drive and stuff, it was just like, hey buddy, just kind of talk to him like it's not such a big deal.
Yeah.
Try to keep him calm. Yeah, exactly. So you just try to be a lot more calm with it, even though, but it just reminded me, I started thinking about it in my house. I was like, okay, like if I needed to go get like something to wrap his arm with or this, I was like, man, I got like stuff spread. Like I got some, Band-Aids and stuff in like the pantry. And then I've got some other stuff kind of like up in the, like our bathroom. And I think like the kind of stress levels, like now that the baby can like move and stuff. So it's like, you're like throwing a baby down. I'm trying to calm down the other two because,
you're not throwing a baby down. Setting him down. Let's just make sure
someone's going to take that 2-second clip, and so, but it's like, all right, what started thinking, I was like, what do you do when you're like by yourself? You know what I mean? Because you're like, okay, like, well, I got to put the baby down gently on plush pillows, just put them on the floor, and then you got the other two because they're like, well, what's happening? And then you got the one who's like, in pain, like screaming. You're like trying to like evaluate the situation. You're like, all right, like blood, no, like okay. You're like going through the motions. You're like, all right, where do I go? And then you're like, my thought was like, if I had to like load up all these jokers into the car, you're like, and then I get to the hospital. I'm like, all right, one kid can't walk because he's got a broken arm. Like, I mean, I guess he could, but like he's 5. Arm hurts.
It's easy to just carry this one.
Carry him, but then I'm like, I got an infant that clearly can't walk. So it's like, I don't even know how you would start to, like, that's where I started to go and like, or like I'm at home and like there's enough of a break. Well, I guess where I was going with that was like, there's enough of a scratch or whatever else. I was like, man, I need to like get a little more consolidated on like, here's the actual like stuff to handle stuff. Yeah, like someone like really splits open their face and we need to go get stitches, but let's patch it up and then go get, like, where is all that stuff? So I was like, I started writing a list of like, not go like full like kind of like a prepper, like, like, well, when the kid breaks his arm the next time, I'm going to be able to reset it and put it in a cast in my house, like, but like I feel like when he like inevitably, gets a pair of pliers or something and cuts his hand open, it's like, all right, where do we have enough stuff to kind of contain the situation, pressure, and then go somewhere? So, because I was like, right now it's a little too sporadic, and it was in a way it was a good reminder. Like with the wife, it was like, all right, we gotta. It was almost like, all right, and her mom's a registered nurse. I was like, maybe we should like talk through a few things and like. Remind me again what we do in the different situations, because it's like, all right, when they're choking, what do you do? When especially the babies and stuff, and so it's like, all right, when they break their arm, like, should I have actually like tried to like wrap it up and ice it, or what I did, like, what are those situations? Like blood's pouring out of their face, you're like,
call an ambulance.
How do you? Well, when in doubt, I'd rather it's like, why I don't want to. I guess that was a situation. It was just like, I knew it wasn't an ambulance situation, but I knew we need to go somewhere. So I was like, the more time I just sit here and twiddle my thumbs on trying to make a decision is worse than just I'd rather go to the doctor or the hospital and then be like, yeah, here's a Band-Aid. Like, cool. As opposed to like, oh yeah, well, if he would have bled out a little bit more, he probably would have passed out. Whatever. It's like, I'd rather err on the side of caution, but without being kind of just helicoptery. But that was a fun Saturday adventure with my family. 2021.
You were talking about your drive. You were talking about your drive to the hospital in the rain, and Travis and I were in Asheville, And we took our cars up there to go drive around in the mountains. And of course, it was the same terrible weather. That's huge storm just kind of moving through here to the southeast, really. And so we wait for that to clear up. And it finally, like, kind of clears up a little bit. And so we're like, all right, cool. Let's go drive. Let's go hit the Blue Ridge Parkway and all this stuff. We get up there and it's so foggy, like unbelievable amount of fog. And it was the same thing. Like couldn't see 2 feet in front of us and on this crazy windy mountain road. And we're trying to drive fast. And then it would like clear up and then we go through one of these tunnels. And then there was that one particular long tunnel that like Travis is in front of me and we're like, finally the fog cleared up and we're hitting and we're like, brah! Like, because that's what you do in a tunnel. You drive fast and it's loud and it's cool. And we get to the end of it, wall of fog. We're just like standing on the brakes. We're like, brr! We're like, we don't know where this road goes.
Like, are we about to have a hairpin off the
off the cliff? Hard
like,
left
what are
out
we
of
doing?
this tunnel or what? Like it was.
Oh man,
crazy.
I totally needed to increase the insurance policy before you left.
I'm here though. We're good. And then here's what was even crazier. I met up with a guy who had followed me on Instagram for a while because of the NSX, who I was talking to, and he's had a bunch of them, and he's, you know, kind of constantly flipping them and buying and selling and whatever, and he's had like a dozen of them. And I was telling him a story about this one that I built. I don't think I've told you this story yet, but you know the red one that I built like years ago that I've referenced from time to time. That
I remember. I think I've seen a photo.
Pictures of it, and I'm like, man, this is the car that like I knew I wanted an NSX at some point, but then like I built this car for a customer and it was turbo, and it was crazy, it was amazing, and I was like, I was like, I will own one of these one day. And then he moved away from here, he moved to Virginia and goes and totals it, and I hear all these stories about it. And this is like 2010 probably when that happened, when it got totaled, maybe 2011. So anyways, I told him, I said, man, I built this car for a customer years ago. It was an 03. I put a GT35R turbo on it, blah, blah, blah. And he's like, looks at me. He's like, a red one? I was like,
no.
I'm like, yeah. He's like, I have that car. I was like, shut up. So he sends me pictures of it. And of course, it's totaled. He's like, every panel on it was bad. I ended up cutting up most of the car and selling the good parts off to people and kind of just parting it out. But he still has the motor and he still has stuff. So it was just crazy. It's just such a small world.
Right.
Not to mention he like comes to Hilton Head, knows a bunch of people here. And he's like, it's just such a small world. But, and you know, it's the NSX community is really small too. And that had a bunch of cool hot rod parts on it. So like anybody that ended up with it would have kind of known the car. But yeah, it was really interesting to like come across the guy that ended up with the car that I built in 2008.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it was pretty wild. And then I tried to buy the motor, but he like parted out the turbo stuff, and it was just a kind of a junk motor after that. I was like, you want to sell me that motor? Because that thing was awesome, but it's smoked. It's trashed. So no bueno, but that was kind of cool. But Asheville was good. We spent a lot of time in the hotel room just because the weather was so crappy.
Just waiting on it to quit raining so that we could actually go drive around and enjoy it.
Yeah,
man,
that was fun.
I know I've gotten old when it's like it starts to rain and it's like dark out, and I'm like, do I have? How bad do we need those eggs? I was like, my vision going? I can't see.
Well, yeah, because you guys, when you go up that way, you stay in a mountain house. I'm sure you're like a little ways from a store or anything.
But no, just in general, like even around here when it's like rainy, and it's like
I don't really care about it. My eyes suck from welding. I feel like they're getting a little bit better. But like oncoming headlights for me really screw with my eyes.
What's that like reflectiveness on like the black asphalt now? And I'm just like, before like never bothered me. Now I'm like, why do I feel like I can't see?
Yeah,
but
yeah, that was, I think welding screwed at my eyes. I had some glasses for a while that I wore particularly to drive at night that had like the anti-reflective coatings on them and things, but I've long lost those and I don't know where they are. But now all the windshields in my cars are tinted, which helps cut down some of that light a little bit.
Gotcha.
So that's helpful. The other thing I did recently was camping. I went camping a few weeks ago. We haven't gotten to kind of catch everyone up on this, but that was interesting. Everyone survived. It was kind of crazy. There's lots I could talk about, but I feel like it'll get into a long story. But the gist of it was a good time. The kids got to have a good time. It was a new experience for them, was camping. I went with my in-laws. It was actually my father-in-law's idea. He ended up buying a tent from somewhere and was like, we're going camping. I'm like, all right, Jim says we're going camping. We're going camping. And Brandy's like super pregnant. You know, she's at the time 7.5, 8 months pregnant this few weeks ago, and was a trooper. She was like, "Yep, we're going camping." I was
How'd
like,
she do sleeping on like air mattress all that?
it was fine. She was, we went 3 nights, and each night got better. The first night we were up a million. The raccoons we were in Fort McAllister, Georgia, so just kind of south of Savannah. But the raccoons, I mean, there was like dozens of raccoons that would come into the campsite at night, and Tyler Smith actually warned me about. He's like, dude, that place is awesome. The kids will love the fort. It's really cool. Blah blah blah. Keep all your shit locked up at night because the raccoons are out of control. I was like, okay, cool, noted. So the first night, I was like, oh yeah, Tyler said we need to put all the stuff away at night.
Yeah,
Raccoons.
yeah.
Well, Brandy's dad like left some stuff out, and no kidding, man. As soon as the sun went down, it got dark, like 8:30 at night. Raccoons are just like in the campsite, like under cars, doing this, doing that, and they got into a bunch of stuff. Thankfully, nothing important. It was just like a random bag. Like Brandy's dad had a bag from Five Guys that like fell out of his car and ended up like underneath the car. So they were destroying this bag because it had Five Guys in it previously that day.
Yeah.
And we're like, what are they going for into this car? I shoo them away finally. I pull it out. It's like the remnants of a bag of Five Guys.
How many people were like close? Like you couldn't just like get a shotgun out and just.
Well, it's in this like fort area thing, and there were so many of them. I mean, they were forget about it. But thankfully, they weren't like aggressive. They just wanted your food.
Gotcha.
And like, I had this a guy who was telling me a story. He's like, dude, I fed one of those things like 52 marshmallows, and eventually they were just like, they would just come grab it out of my hand. I was like, what?
I'm good with. I don't need to get that close to that like raccoon nature. I'm good with that.
But they were. The first night we were like, I was like, okay, all right, we got these raccoons everywhere. The kids like, I don't know anything about these raccoons, whatever. So of course they started getting freaked out by it, and then they're like making noise all night long. These raccoons, and you could see their shadows walking past the tent. The kids were like losing it. So the first night was not so great. The second night, everyone was a little bit more comfortable with the raccoons, and the kids got to see them a little more. We had flashlights on them, and they were like, oh, they're so cute and blah, blah, blah. So then they were like, didn't care about the raccoons, and they slept like rocks. And, but they chewed and scratched through this big styrofoam cooler that at some point had something in it. And it was just full of like these like dry ice bricks, that Brandy's dad had this cooler out. And then he put something on top of it so they couldn't open the lid. But there was nothing in it. It was just like dry ice inside of it. But at some point, it had something in it. So it had some odor of something that they wanted to inspect. But and this was like this super thick, probably 3 to 4 inches thick styrofoam cooler. And they like dug 2 holes in it on these opposite corners of it. And I'm like listening. It wakes me up. And I'm like, what are they getting into out there? It was like, styrofoam's loud and squeaky and all this stuff. So I get up, I unzip part of the tent, and I shine my light out there, and I'm like, oh my God, they're going after this cooler. I'm like, why is there a cooler left out? So I go and I get them out of there, and there was like a toolbox or something on top of it just to kind of keep the lid on it or whatever, which they obviously didn't get into. But so I ended up taking that cooler, and we had a spare tent set up for the kids to play in, because when you get to a campsite, they just want to play in a tent. And I didn't want all the dirt and bugs and everything. So I'm like, stay out of my tent, stay out of that tent. We set up an extra tent so they could just play in it during the day or whatever.
Yeah.
Which turned out to be a great idea. But anyway, so I ended up sticking the cooler in that play tent and like zipped it up and like went back to bed. Of course, I'm like in my underwear and whatever. So it was funny. But the raccoon. And then the next night they got onto his trailer. Yeah, he brought this. Brandy's dad brought this little utility trailer, and we brought some firewood and stuff like that on it. And it was disconnected from the vehicle, and it had a bunch of firewood on it, but we burned a bunch of the firewood. So like the front end tongue sign of it was super light, and they all jumped in it and boonk, like popped it back. The trailer's like bonk. I'm like, what in the world is this again? It's like wakes me up middle of the night. So I get up, unzip, I'm like looking out the little thing, and I'm like, those bastards are all piled up in this trailer. Like, what? It was just something every night. It was hilarious. But it was fun. I think the hardest part, though, was just keeping the kids entertained, because I was constantly, there was 9 of us there. It was Brandy's sister, her husband, their kid, and then her parents, and then us and the kid. I think there was 9 of us. And I did like most of the setup, like set up all the tents and all the stuff. I brought like a shower tent thing, like a privacy tent. And I had a little like the 5-gallon bucket with a toilet seat on it, because Brandy had to get up and pee every 5 seconds. And so I had that set up for her. So I had to set that thing up, set our tent up. I had to help Brandy's dad set up his tent. I had to help her sister set up their tent and all this stuff. And then I had all the kitchen stuff. So I was doing setup. I was cooking. I was doing all these things. Brandy's pregnant. She's like sitting there and trying not to move too much and overdo it. And her dad had just had carpal tunnel surgery. So his hand was not as functional. And, it was just like, it was a lot on me.
Right.
And entertaining the kids was probably the hardest part. So thankfully we brought a couple of balls for them to like throw around and kick around, some frisbees and stuff, but they can only do that for so long. So it was tough. And then it was like constantly, it was like, all right, you spend a bunch of time prepping and then cooking and then cleaning up after cooking. And then there's like a 30-minute window of like, all right, I'm going to sit down for a minute. And it's like, all right, what's everybody want for lunch? Like, let's start cooking again. You know what I mean? And then it's like, you get that cleaned up and then you go for a walk or go down to the dock or whatever. And then it's like, all right, we got to start getting ready for dinner before it gets dark because the raccoons are going to come out and then all this stuff. And then I'm trying to like babysit. I'm like trying to cook and babysit a fire and keep that going. I mean, I was like, geez, I need a vacation after. Like, I was exhausted. Didn't shower for days, like wore the same pants. Brandy was funny. We were packing to go camping and Brandy's like trying to pack all this stuff for the kids. I'm like, I think like a pair of shorts, a pair of pants, something to sleep in, and like a jacket. She's like, well, what are they going to wear of this and that? And then I'm like, we're going to be in the woods.
Yeah.
Like, no one, they don't need options for clothes. Like, I'm going to wear these pants for the next 4 days. Like,
exactly.
Like, we're going to be dirty and stank. Like, who cares? I'm not trying to impress anybody out here.
Yeah.
Like, everyone gets one of this and one of that and some underwear. Of course, Kendall, being the one who never wears shoes, ends up with, cut her foot like immediately day one. So I'm like in my utility pouch that I use for med kit, like Band-Aids and the whole nine.
Right.
Go figure. Yeah, it was a
relaxing.
Trip. It was super relaxing. Well, then it was like, was it the next week? Or I guess it was 2 weeks later, Travis and I went to Asheville. I was like, all right, this is my trip. The last chance to get away, do what I want to do, relax, not have to babysit kids, and just chill before the baby comes, which I feel like I was pushing it on my timeline because the baby's due in like 4 weeks now.
Yeah.
So I'm like, all right, that was it.
Yep.
That was it.
Yeah, we had COVID kind of cancel our plans before Thomas was born.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, glad you had some downtime.
Yeah. It's necessary. Got to do it.
So next time you go camping, just take like you and Cameron and the Land Cruiser.
Yeah. I mean, the Land Cruiser. I didn't take the Land Cruiser this time. I still had some work that needed to be done, and didn't quite have the space that we needed because I had to pack a bunch of stuff for more people because not everybody had what they needed. So I was like, I got that. I'll bring this. Whatever. But next time, I almost think the Land Cruiser would have been better because it's got the roof rack, and I can pack so much stuff on the roof rack that it really makes up for a lot of space. But it wasn't ready to go. The Land Cruiser, I think, it's going to be a while before we can do a big family camping trip. I think I wanted to take the boat. I mentioned that I was going to take the boat. I ended up not taking the boat, and I was going to dock it at Tyler's house, but that didn't work. Last minute, I was like realizing how much was on my shoulders with this trip, and then having to worry about a boat, and I was like, nah.
No, thank you.
Nah. So, anywho. All right. Well, should we wrap it up before this gets too long and everyone gets bored? Probably not a bad idea, unless you got something else to talk about.
No, I was just checking some notes.
We got some things for the next episode.
We good.
Cool. Guys, thanks for listening, watching, all that kind of stuff. Make sure you like, subscribe, leave your rating, comments, reviews, all that kind of stuff. We would appreciate it. We'll see you in the next episode.